Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got a special episode of a super cool radio here. Not often that I interview two members from two different bands, but coming up on January 12th, Freya and RIG Time will tour together for the Fight Is One tour. Please welcome Karl from Freya and Bryan from RIG Time.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having Freya on.
You're welcome. I know we got quite a bit to discuss for you guys. I know you got the upcoming tour, as I said, and so much more. And as I said, it's awesome to have you guys on the show.
Again, thank you for having us on, man. This will be Freya's first tour in a while, so we're really looking forward to getting back out there.
Okay, no, for sure. I do want to talk about the tour. So how does it feel to have the tour starting? Like, how do you guys feel?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I feel like, well, it's like RIG Time, we're pretty actively on the road. So on one hand, I feel like it's another tour. It's like I get kind of disassociated from it. But honestly, I think I'm pretty excited about this one just because I know that the reception has been really, really warm. And I know a lot of people are excited to see Freya, and like we're playing some places that I've wanted to play for a while. So there's just a lot of good vibes and a lot of good positivity, I feel like, going into it. So I'm excited for it.
Me too. Like, Freya has played in recent time with Leeway out in Albany. We just did a show in Syracuse with Madball. We did a run through little parts of the East Coast here and there. But this will be pretty much the longest string of dates we've done since Fight Is One has been released. And Freya hasn't spent too much time in the Midwest as it is, so some of these places will be it'll be the first time Freya's ever, played Indiana, for instance.
Oh, that is really cool. And I'm definitely looking forward. Obviously, you got a South Bend date, which is, it's like 10, 15 minutes from my house. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And so I'm curious for you guys. So, like, how did this tour come together? Like, have you guys toured before, or is this going to be a first time?
Go ahead.
Long story short, I had gotten in touch with, or Thomas actually from Freya had gotten in touch with me, and we had talked a little bit about how he said that Freya wanted to go out on the road and wanted to do some dates with RIG Time, and we kind of figured out the best way to do it. So I reached out to some people and booked some shows, and that's kind of the real, boring story of it. But that's what it was. Is basically I got in touch with Thomas, and now we're heading on the road together.
Yep. Yeah, Tommy is, he's constantly connecting us to like new music and new bands. He went to Berklee School of Music in Boston. So he's, super talented guitar player, and he does a separate band called The Interrogation out on the West Coast and in Canada, British Columbia up there. So, when Freya hasn't been active, his band has been. Everyone in Freya plays in other groups. I'm in Earth Crisis and Apocalypse Tribe, and Ethan does a solo project called Ethan D. Henry, and Ed is in Void Emperor. So, like I said, it's been a little bit of time since we've been permitted the opportunity to get back with Freya and write a new record and get out on the road, because we're all involved in other things. But I'm really proud of the new record, and I'm looking forward to these shows.
Oh, no, definitely, for sure. And so I'm curious, Karl, for you. So what has been some music that Tommy has showed you that you've really enjoyed?
Tommy's played like stuff for me, like Dream Theater and Between the Buried and Me, stuff that's a little more techie, but he says hardcore is his pop, and that's what he grew up with. And when he joined Freya all those years ago, he's kind of like at this great balancing point between the two.
That is really cool, and it's a great quote that hardcore is his pop. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, that's awesome though. So for you guys, so have you guys toured before or played any shows before with Rig Time and Freya?
Nope. This would be the first time with Rig Time and Freya together. So this is a yeah, because I don't even think I'm not sure who it was. I know I talked to someone from who may have been involved in Freya at some point, throughout the years, but I've never actually met anyone in Freya. So I'm very excited for Friday when we meet up. So
yep, it had to be Tommy because he takes care of our online presence and he's a pretty outgoing, gregarious guy. So I'm sure it was him.
Right on, but also like kind of going along with that, like how important is it for like bands to make connections, even if nothing comes about it right away, but years later, kind of like with you guys touring together, like how important is it for bands to like communicate and connect with each other?
Like for me, like no one has ever auditioned for a part in Freya, like the band is about friendships and it's something that we created together so we could basically step outside of these other groups that we do and have an entity where we can experiment and explore, combining different styles together. So there's some Freya records that have leaned a little more towards a melodic approach, but with the new one, it's completely aggressive and the follow-up is completely aggressive. And that's kind of the vein that I want to, travel through going forward into the future. But like I said, I mean, Freya is about friendships and, actually that's what led to all the, the people that we had join us for the 20th anniversary of our band's existence to do guest vocals. Like we had Freddie Madball step in. We had, Jamie Hatebreed from Hatebreed and Scott Vogel from Terror and Buried Alive. Like those are all guys that, whichever band they've been in, they've played with Freya over the years. And we actually did a full European tour with Scott Vogel. He was singing for Born from Pain. So these are all guys that have like a true connection to the band, and we're thankful that they joined us for the guest vocals.
Oh, it is.
Sorry, I was just going to say, as an outsider's perspective, that new record absolutely rips too. So, like, I've mentioned it to some people because I have known friends who have known some of the earlier Freya stuff that you mentioned. Where you said some of it was more melodic, and I've even said, like, dude, this new record is like top notch. It's like riffs for days. Like, as an audio nerd myself, like the production is fantastic and the vocals are clear and the bass cuts through and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I think it's absolutely top notch, but I just wanted to add that in there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And, and we're stoked to be playing with you guys. You guys are definitely bringing it strong.
Thank you.
Oh no, for sure. Definitely. I'm going to Karl real quick. I like that you said aggressive for the new album, because like that's like when I first started listening to it, like that's exactly kind of like the vibe and like mood of the album. That's like exactly what I thought.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to do, After 20 years, before we started writing this one, the newest one that just came out, we kind of look back and we're, in kind of a reflective mindset and thought, well, what has been our favorite era? And for me, it was during the duration when we did the split with Hoods and we released Lift the Curse. Like, I like leaning more towards into the aggressive hardness. And that's basically what the new record and the one that's going to follow it are.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the follow-up, because this new one, it rips, as Brian said. It's amazing.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Of course. So now I do want to focus on the upcoming tour. So, like, for anyone that hasn't seen both these bands live, like, what can they expect? Like, for a person like me, I haven't seen you guys live yet. What can I expect?
I mean, I know that like the reputation that Rig Time has is, I don't know. I feel like I'm told this every night, so it feels weird to say it, but I'm just repeating what people have told me, is like, we're like one of the loudest bands you'll ever see in like a DIY setting, but it's only 2 of us. But like we're very focused on, I mean, we're not a traditional duo in the aspect of like we're just all about volume. We're very much about clarity and performance, and basically we're trying to play like 5 people at all times, you know, type of thing. So like I do drums and vocals, and Rebecca does a split signal guitar bass type of thing, and then I also have like a synth board where I add in like atmospheric things and play synth while I'm playing drums and stuff like that. So like we're trying to do all these things without backing tracks and live, and you know, like we're into a lot of like doom metal and stuff like that, but at our core we're still just a hardcore band is the way we feel. So like we write 2-minute doom songs that hardcore kids can throw down to, I guess. but you know, very sincere lyrics and stuff too. Like it's all very personal. So I think like live, like we're loud and we just try to assault all of your senses in the best way possible. So I feel like that's the best way I can probably explain that. How is Freya live? Like, how have your recent shows been?
They've been great. I mean, we've been playing as a 4-piece at some of these shows, but we're going to have the full band, the full lineup, including Eric Edwards and his brother Ian on guitar with us. So that'll be cool. I mean, I love when we get to play with three guitarists. I think it definitely ups the ante. You guys have played in every state. Is that true? That's what I heard.
So we have played in 45 states, and when we play in Maryland on Friday, that will be our 46th state. So then, yeah, we just have Delaware, Louisiana, Hawaii, and Alaska left, and that's it after we play Maryland. So
that is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we have an addiction.
Maybe Puerto Rico will become a state, and it'll
they have to add it. So then I got to have some for the checklist. So, but yeah, we're definitely not afraid to hit the road, and we're trying to just get everywhere we can and play everywhere we can. So,
have any hardcore bands gone to Alaska?
I don't know. I feel like somebody has to have, but I don't personally know anyone that's done it. But I feel like I just want to build it up to a point where it's, you know, makes sense type of thing. Like hit somebody up and make the travel where it's like, you know, people are going to come out, but I don't even know. Like I know that band 36 Crazy Fists was from Alaska, and that's like the most popular band I could ever think of that was from there, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that Strife has been to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that Sword Enemy and Marauder have been to Puerto Rico. So I know those places have scenes, you know?
Yeah, I know Puerto Rico. I was just telling a friend the other day, I'm pretty sure I've heard that Puerto Rico has a pretty good like crossover thrash kind of metallic hardcore scene, because I've seen a couple of bands from there, and I've found a couple bands online that are from there. So I'm assuming they must have a pretty good scene for that.
Yeah, and my drummer Corey, sometimes he jams with Freya too. He's definitely a valued member. But he plays in Apocalypse Tribe with us, and he drum techs for Suicidal Tendencies. And I'm pretty sure Suicidal Tendencies played Cuba in the last couple of years.
Cool.
So I don't know of too many American bands that have gotten to go there, but
yeah,
they're one of the few. So hope that would be awesome if things opened up there too.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. Especially, just, many of those different countries to bring, kind of hardcore, just really like music in general. I don't know what kind of their, different styles of music are down there, for like Cuba, Puerto Rico, but I think that would be cool. And I think it would definitely be a goal for, for some bands to get over there.
Yeah, for sure. New territory.
Exactly. Now, Brian, for you, have you played in Canada at all for Rig Time?
Yes, we played Vancouver once. So we did cross over. We played a Vancouver show, and but that is all we've done in Canada so far. So we've played really close to Canada a handful of times along the border and stuff. Like we played Plattsburgh, New York before, and Burlington, Vermont, where my friends, the Path, the shirt I'm wearing, are from. But hoping 2024 maybe we can get over the border again and hit Montreal and Toronto and stuff like that.
Yeah, Freya's been to like some of the different cities in the eastern part of Canada, but never the west. So hopefully that'll be on our list too for this touring cycle.
Oh no, that would definitely be very cool, especially at the other part of Canada you haven't hit before. Now, I forget, I forget. It's like the western part of Canada. Again, I could be wrong with this, but don't they have like a big punk scene over there? I want to say like British Columbia or something like that. I forget.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. Like DOA is from there. They're from. Forgive me. It's either Vancouver or British Columbia. Are they provinces or are they cities? I can't remember.
So British Columbia is the province, and then I think Vancouver is I don't know if it's like the capital or it's a city there, but yeah.
Yeah, that might actually be where Tommy's living right now. He might be living in Vancouver. But Earth Crisis played there a few years ago, and it was like, Walking Dead. There was this one spot that they had all these strung out people kind of, just milling about. It was seriously unreal.
We had the same experience. So that's interesting to hear you say it, because that's our story of Vancouver as well. So
yeah, we parked in the alley behind the club to load in. And as anyone that has been in a band that's been on tour, the van kind of becomes the clubhouse, so we're sitting in there during the day, and like people were literally like shooting up like 6 feet away from us and smoking crack. It was crazier than New York.
Yeah, when we were there, there was somebody laying on the sidewalk with a needle in their arm, just on their back, like they were alive, but they had to like walk around them because they were just laying in there. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and what was weird was by the end of the day, like how used to it we were. There was just so much of it.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Yeah. But that's not all Canada. We do love Canada.
Wow, I've driven through Canada, and I do like it. So even though I've only played in Vancouver, I've actually been to other parts, and I do like Canada a lot. So I'm looking forward to hopefully playing it more.
Well, I do hope both of you guys get that chance to play in Canada for 2024. I didn't know that about Vancouver, about your guys' experience. It's interesting, sharing both your stories here, though. You have similar experiences.
The show was great, though, so I will say that. I loved the show.
Yeah, the show was fun, for sure. And, I mean, Canada's given the world a lot of incredible bands like, SNFU and Perfect Murder, Destroy the Machines, DOA. So, Cataclysm. Yeah, Freya has played with Cataclysm in the past, too.
Oh, no, for sure. No, Canada's got a lot of great, entertainment, music in general, like a lot of, great, obviously people, but also things in general. So Canada, much love. I haven't been to Canada yet. I would like to. I got relatives in Canada, so I hope I get that opportunity.
Yeah, it's worth it.
But so I'm curious for both of you guys. So like, what has been like some of the coolest like shows and venues you guys have performed at?
Freya played a show in Albany called Park Fest, and 50 Cent was the headliner.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like all kinds of crazy characters. But that would have to be up at the top. And we played with Andrew WK. That was pretty crazy too. Yeah, I'd put both those up at the top, and maybe some of the shows we played in Eastern Europe as well. Like we were going into Eastern Europe at a time when not a lot of American hardcore bands had been there yet. So yeah, everyone was really amped up for the shows, and that was a blast too.
It's always a hard question for me to answer, because I feel like, so like Rig Time alone, we've done like 500 something shows, and which is like a lot in my brain to like try and like grasp and think of how many we've done. So like, and every now and then, like I can think of like weird places we've played and stuff like that. That always seems to pop in my head. But like trying to think of like favorite shows, I'm just like, man, like it's really difficult to come up with one specific one, which is not really the most fun answer. But I feel like even like when we play Yeah, I mean, like, it was really cool for me. I guess, like, I've been a big fan of Integrity for a really long time, and I never had an opportunity to see them, but we got to play with them about a year or two ago. So that was a really cool moment, just because it was like a band that I never got a chance to actually see, and then finally got to see them, and I got to play with them. So that was cool. And um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've definitely some places. I know, like the last time we played the Sanctuary in Detroit, where we will also be playing on this tour with Freya. That was awesome. You know, packed room, great vibe, fantastic sound, fantastic venue. So that's something I'm really looking forward to again for this show. We played Cincinnati a ton. I feel like a lot of my favorite shows have probably been in Cincinnati. I have we got that's kind of been almost like a hometown to us, even though it's 10 hours from where we live, but they treat us that way. So yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to choose, but that's what I can share off the top of my head.
All right, I know it's a challenging question, especially for bands who tour very extensively. But I'm always curious, just like what people favorite like memories and moments and venues are for how many shows you guys do play.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't matter if it's a show at a skate shop or a comic store, or like when we got to play that huge fest in Albany. Like, I try to put the same energy into it and convey the same kind of vibe. And I'm thankful for fans, and I'm thankful when we get to play. So for me, a big part of what's fun about being a musician is being able to travel and see all these places and play with other bands of all different styles, and that's kind of one of the driving factors for me after all these years of doing it.
Yeah, one thing I'm really excited about with this tour is that there is a good variety of different types of venues. So as I mentioned, like, we're playing the Sanctuary, we're also playing in Cleveland at the Foundry. That show's gonna be with In Cold Blood, which is gonna be awesome. And those are two very cool, legit venues. But we are also playing some more DIY types of spaces. But I personally think that stuff sometimes is, or those types of shows are important, because that's the foundations of hardcore and DIY music, at least in the way that I grew up with it, And I know, like, I'm curious to think about, or to ask you, Karl, like, when you first started going to shows, what were the types of venues and clubs and spaces that you went to? When I started, it was like wherever anybody could set it up, if it was a basement or it was a VFW hall and things like that. So I think that just kind of fits the, I don't know, the ethos of hardcore and DIY music, in stripping things down and getting to the bones of that. We don't have like a fancy stage, and it's not like a specific club. It's like, we're just here, we're going to enjoy some music for 4 hours, and we're going to go home. And
yeah, we were very, very fortunate to grow up in Syracuse, which was kind of a hub for punk, thrash metal, and hardcore in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got to see bands at an awesome club that still exists and is still going strong, the Lost Horizon, which is basically our CBGB's. It's our Fireside Bowl.
Okay.
And, so we got to see, Suicidal Tendencies and DRI and Agnostic Front and Sick of It All, and in an awesome club with a great sound system, that was, constantly nurturing those scenes. And Greg Italiano has since passed away, but I remember seeing him after Walls of Jericho from Detroit played, and he was literally like waiting for them to get off the stage so they would sign his vinyl. After decades of booking these bands, he was still stoked on aggressive music.
Yeah.
So he put a lot into the scene in Syracuse, and having a venue that was run properly, where bands, nationally and internationally could play. Like, one of the first bands I ever saw was GBH. And we also had, when I was a little too young to be going to shows, Syracuse did have a thriving punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for people that are interested in hardcore punk history, you definitely go back and check out Catatonic's The Hunted Down 7-inch, Fast Furious Death, Milton's Disciples. Yeah, so we kind of had the best of both worlds. We had an underground punk scene, and we had a supportive club that was bringing the bigger acts through.
It's really awesome, and like definitely, a great opportunity to see shows and be part of shows with that. And so I'm curious for you guys. So I know some of the shows on the tour are all ages. Like, how important is it for bands to be playing all ages shows?
So Rig Time's entire existence, we've actually only ever played all ages shows. That's something that we've stuck to since we started. If we can't find a show that isn't all ages, we don't play it, and that's just our own personal choice. That's our something we stuck to, and that kind of came. I mean, it wasn't an original idea by any means, to be very honest. If you're familiar with Kid Dynamite, they had the song "Cheap Shot Youth Anthem," and I heard that many years ago. And it says, there's a line that says, "Call us up to play a show and say it's over 21. We say hell no, because it's all ages." And that just struck a chord with me really, really strong. Just being someone who is very passionate and sincere about my music, but also like I am straight edge and I've been sober my entire life. So it's like being in a bar centric venue, because we do play places that are bars, but there's a difference between a venue that has music and serves alcohol as opposed to a bar that puts alcohol and other things above the music, in my opinion. So I had mentioned it to a previous band. I was like, hey, what if we were just an all ages band? What if we only played all ages shows and made people think about like, oh, wait a second, this band only wants to play a show if it's all ages. Well, maybe we got to work a little harder to find a different venue or something. And that band didn't want to do it. So when Rig Time started, I was like, threw the idea again, and everyone was on board. So we stuck with it, and we've, thrown out the all ages or nothing, which just means for us, it's like the nothing part of it is if we have a day off, then okay, we have a day off. We go to a state park, we go to explore a city, whatever. Like, I mean, like, I know like touring is hard and money is a thing that is needed, but also at the same time, I feel like I just want to I want to feel good about my choices when I'm 80 years old, knowing that I played the shows that I wanted to for a reason. And also because of what we've been doing, there has been places where all ages shows have started where they didn't exist before. And even on this tour, that has actually happened where some places they were like, well, I usually put it here, but we're going to put it here so then we can have other people come and stuff like that. And, just to wrap that idea up is like all ages shows are important, because if somebody wouldn't have put on a show in a high school gym that I went to when I was 14, that's a true story, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And if I wouldn't have had that opportunity that somebody else gave me, 20 years ago, 20, whatever, however old I am, like all those years ago, I wouldn't have fell in love with music the way that I have, and I've completely dedicated my life to it, and that's all I do. This is all I do with it. So by me only playing all ages shows, that is just, and outwardly saying it, that is my way of saying, hey, I'm just trying to pay it forward to the people who've been doing this a hell of a lot longer than me, and trying to keep up the next generation of people and letting people be able to come to shows, fall in love with music, and keep the cycle going. Because if you don't let a younger generation fall in love with live music, then eventually people will get married and have kids and stuff. And, by the time it's 20s, 30s, they might not play music anymore, but you have to keep that cycle. Otherwise it just won't go anywhere. So that's my story on all of that. So.
Yeah. And for me, I've always viewed it the same way. Earth Crisis is forever a vegan straight edge band. And there's a pretty solid amount of people in Freya that are also vegan straight edge. And I think with that message starting out through bands that were playing the all ages shows, and if some of them were in bars, kids would get a stamp or a bracelet, but no one was excluded. But for this tour, absolutely. I said to Tommy, I was like, let's make sure we do what we just did at Toms River in New Jersey and play those skate parks and try to play, skate shops, comic stores, what have you, and make sure that, everyone can get into the venue.
Yeah, and that's our main thing, that when we, when I hit people up, like I'll say, hey, I need the show. It needs to be all ages. And they'll say, well, can you do 18 plus? And I'm like, that kind of defeats the purpose. Like, the idea is that no one is turned away, because, as I said, Rig Time values music over everything else. You can have alcohol, you can have whatever you need to have at your venue to make your sales, but we only want to play places that are putting music and the fans first. So it's like, no one should be turned away at the door because alcohol is more important than the music, or whatever law is with that city, which again still kind of wraps around to that same idea, and it's just saying that it's like changing the priority of what a concert should be. So
I think you guys definitely said it very well, and I'm definitely I wish here, like where I am, there's not very many all ages shows. So I'm glad that you guys come to my area playing an all ages show, because again, I think it's great for, as you said, for everyone who loves music and if they go to a show they're inspired, then you are as you said, paying it forward. And I think that's very important. I do think there should be more all ages shows. That way everyone can love and appreciate and be inspired by music.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important too that bands like Rig Time and Freya that have been out there and have a lot of concerts behind us make an effort to invite young bands with just playing off of demos to join us on the bill, so that they can get their message out there too, and they can hopefully reach some new people.
Oh, no, for sure. I definitely 100% agree with that as well. So I do got just a couple more things before we wrap up this interview. So I'm curious for both of you guys. So do you have a favorite song to perform live?
I'm really pleased with our new record, and there's definitely a lot of songs off of Fight As One in our set list. So I'm really stoked to be playing those songs live finally, after all these years of them, just being in the band room and just being demos and then just being kind of captured in the studio. So yeah, I'm stoked for that.
I'm excited to hear you play those songs live, because there's a lot of energy, and I can just, I feel like the crowds are gonna feed off of it. So I'm excited to hear you play out most of that record. So
cool, good.
For Rig Time, I feel like my favorite song always seems to change, but I think right now has probably been, we've been playing this new song that's not recorded at all. It'll be on our next album, but we just decided to play it early, and we've never taken it out of the set, because it's like, I think it's like one of the best songs we've ever written. It's lyrically a song that I got out exactly what I needed to say. But no matter where we're playing, like, even if like there's no movement before this song, when we play this song, there's movement, like there's eyes staring at me, like there's just a very strong connection with the crowd. So I feel like that that song's called Overcast, but we've been playing that for a while now, and I feel like every time we play that, it's like then I know like it's on, like everybody in this room is going to be locked in for this 3-4 minutes, or whatever. And so it's just a really good feeling to have that. So we'll play that on this tour, probably every show too. So,
well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the new not recorded song from Rig Time, and I love to hear new music off the album from Freya. I think it's gonna be a killer show. I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm just excited to see both of you guys live for the first time.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, so now before we close out this interview, so like, what is like the rest of 2024 looking like for your respected bands?
Well, for Freya, we're working on our next album, so we're writing and we're booking shows as we go. But our goal is to hopefully have our next record written by the end of this year, so that we can record in 25.
Bryan, what about for you?
For Rig Time, so we do have our new album written, but we're just kind of fine tweaking little things here and there, and just been trying to find time to track it. I do all of our own tracking, so I'm very, very meticulous on it. But like I do live room and live drums and real mics and stuff like that too. So like I try to make sure absolutely everything's perfect in there, but also it's like kind of nerve-wracking because we've been a band for so long. I feel like this record, as I mentioned, our favorite song is a new song, but like this record is like the music we've been supposed to write finally. Like we finally had that little epiphany, like click of like, this is the Rig Time sound. This is not anyone else's sound. This is our sound kind of thing. So it's kind of just like trying to get that and do it justice, and then get that released, and then otherwise play a ton more shows is pretty much always our goal, is play wherever we can. If we're available and it's all ages, we'll come do it and have a good time. So
well, I'm glad to hear, and I definitely wish you guys the best for 2024 and in 2025, and I definitely look forward to hearing more new music from you guys. But for everyone watching and listening, where the best place to find Freya and RIG Time?
I'll let you handle that.
Oh, okay. So for RIG Time, probably just rigtimeband.com. That's got links to everything and whatever, so that's easy to remember. rigtimeband.com, all our music videos and social media and stuff is up there. So, and then where can we find Freya? Do you know where? I don't remember your links off the top of my head. So.
Yeah, I'll have Tommy send all that stuff to you, and you can just kind of.
I usually follow Freya on Instagram, so I can say that as an outsider.
Okay.
So, yeah, find Freya on Instagram.
Yeah, you can tell who's the brains behind our operation. It's definitely Tommy and Ethan.
Well, I will leave some links for both bands in the description of this podcast. Please check out and support them. If they're coming to an area near you, make sure to see them live. Check out the latest music as well. Karl, Bryan, thank you so much for stopping by this very special episode of Super Cool Radio. It was awesome to meet you guys and to chat with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of course, for Karl of Freya and Bryan of RIG Time, I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.